walk through. So you see, the relationship went down a road of testing. A relationship that cannot be tested is a relationship that cannot be trusted. How is it tested? By offense. You will notice the blue color is going to transition to red very quickly here. The blue is the water of healing. The red is the fire of rage. Blue washes, cleanses, purifies. Red is hot, infection, danger, don't go there. And we see that the type of testing is the offense. There are intentional offenses and by default. Friends, I want you to pay close attention to the ones by default. We don't need to take any time to discuss offenses that were intentionally leveled against us. We want to take notice to the offenses that did not occur with purposeful intent. In other words, you felt pain by decisions that someone very important to you made that were maybe even necessary decisions, but you were never allowed to feel that pain. Now, here's what we do. We reason it out. Our minds say, well, they didn't mean it. They didn't intend to do it. They did the best they could. Not the issue. We're not here looking for source to vilify someone. We're here to find the source of our wounding so that we can see where our infection is drawn from. This isn't really about the other person. It's about being truthful within my own heart that I'm hurt. Cannot the two coexist? If anybody understands the deployment of moms and dads, it's this area. Deployment means that that parent is going to be taken away from those children or that spouse for a long time. And when they come back, there's going to be pain. It's unthinkable that the spouse or the child would say, it's all right, Daddy, it's all right, Mommy, you had to go, it didn't bother me, it didn't hurt. That sends a message to the one gone that they weren't missed. It wasn't wrong for them to be gone, they were answering the call. But you see, our minds say, well, I'm not allowed to feel that pain. And you know what's interesting? The enemy hides in that pain. He will get an advantage for any pain that you and I refuse to feel. If you do not feel, you cannot heal. The two can coexist. No one's being indicted. No one's being dishonored by you and I admitting, Dad, Mom, I loved you so much. I just wanted more from you. That's the cry of the heart. But if I'm not given liberty, that I'm just supposed to move beyond it and deal with it, I'm taught that feeling pain to heal is not part of God's plan in a fallen world. He was acquainted with grief and a man of sorrows. That's because rejection permeated everything that Christ dealt with. He was rejected by everyone right to the cross. He was rejected by his own Father. And he cried out with a loud voice. Do you remember? Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani. My God, why have you forsaken me? That's the perfect, holy, sinless Son of God who gives liberty to feel when we've been rejected or abandoned. It was not sin to cry that out. When he was made sin sacrifice, the description with a loud voice means he screamed. The crucifixion was a carnival atmosphere. But yet his scream was so loud, they stopped. Who's he crying to? Do you know the cry of so many hearts all throughout this country, throughout our children, throughout our spouses, those we love the most, is why you, husband, wife, dad, mom, why have you forsaken me? Why have you rejected me? Here's what happens. When I'm offended, even if it's by default, I hurt. I'm supposed to hurt. The first response from hurt is detach. I pull away. I shut down. I close off. I erect a wall. It's a force field. You can't see it, but it's as powerful as if you could. You try to get into that child or that spouse, you bounce off. and the same wall that I erect to keep you out keeps me in. I am now lonely, I'm miserable, and my hurt begins to transition to hate and bitterness. This is not something the church ever wants to own. But the scriptures about bitterness and hatred are rampant throughout the New Testament in the epistles. Be ye angry and sin not. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath. Wrath is rage. Wrath is hatred. These are epistles. These are letters written under the anointing by Paul. This was to the church at Ephesus. The heathen weren't reading this. If they were, they didn't understand it. This was for the believer. 1 John 2, 9 to 11. An epistle by the Apostle John. If a man hates his brother, you could put any other human being in there. He walks in darkness and he stumbles and knows not where he goes because the darkness has blinded his eyes. It's his mind's eye. He can't see because bitter blind has taken over his ability to see what's in him. I had this bitter blind. My qualifications as I stand before you are not my degree.